Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Eric McLeod here for LowBlowRadio podcast. This is Eric After Dark, but I'm going to kick things off here. Instead of doing the Dark review first, I do want to talk about the women's Eliminator tournament that they had a video of on Monday on their YouTube page. It featured 4 matches from the Japanese side of the bracket in the first round of the Eliminator tournament here. So I'd like to cover those, give everyone a brief kind of rundown on what happened on that, because it was a lot of fun. Kicked off with Mia Suryaga. I apologize for my pronunciation of some of these, but I will do my best. Mia Suryaga taking on Yuka Sakazaki. Yuka Sakazaki, a Joshi who we are familiar with from her other participation in AEW matches, the Britt Baker match, I think just before the pandemic, and then getting some matches earlier on with Riho, as well as some of the other Joshis. So familiar with the little magic girl here. She's sort of the genie, if you remember her look at all. And a really, really fun opener, these two. Mia Surga is not... she's definitely new and that kind of stuff, as they talked about in the commentary. Excalibur doing the commentary here, which really helped get these girls over and familiarize yourself with them if you were unfamiliar. So that was good. But yeah, the great opener from these two. Yuka Sakazaki picking up the victory, but a star-studded performance from Mia in this one. I really enjoyed her performance. You could tell she's, a little green, but definitely compared to some other green wrestlers, you wouldn't notice it at all. She just, her selling is coming around, and a great person to have in this tournament. Next, we had Emi Sakura taking on Veni. Veni, another new sort of face to the AEW people, but Emi Sakura, another familiar one. Once again, participating in those early Joshi matches, and then most notably, I believe it was Full Gear. She had the title match with Riho. The story there that she sort of was one of Riho's trainers and that kind of thing. So they had a bit of history and that kind of stuff. But nice to see Emi Sakura back in the tournament here, picking up a really big victory over Veni in a big, hard-hitting matchup. These two were going all out. And in that empty arena, you could just hear how much these two were really giving it. So very much enjoyed that match as well. Next up, we probably had the most talked about match from all of these 4 Eliminator matchups. Yuryumitsunami picking up the victory over Makito. Makito becoming, more and more one of the more talked about Joshis, and people were happy to see her participating in this tournament, and rightfully so. If you weren't familiar with Makito beforehand, you certainly got to see all elements of her at play here, her comedic side, as well as just her energy and all that kind of stuff. A very, very fun Joshi to watch, probably my favorite one out of all of the females we got to see participate here. But yeah, Makito, really fun, but Riho, Mitsunami, just a little bit too much to handle, but they put on a really entertaining matchup. So highly recommend that one, probably my favorite out of all 4. And yeah, Ryo Mitsunaki moving on. Another Joshi that we are familiar with, not so much in AEW, definitely from the very, very first, I believe, Joshi match, the 6-woman one they did way back at All In, I think. So again, I'm familiar with her look more so than her in-ring stuff, but she's very, very hard hitting. Familiar of another Joshi we see in the main event here, so might as well transition to that. The main event of this Eliminator first round was Aja Kong taking on Rin Katakura. Another young participant here in Aja Kong, certainly the veteran coming into this tournament, if you're familiar with her at all. One of the more notable names participating here in the tournament and picking up a very big victory. She's, very much booked like a monster, and they kept that going through this tournament as well. So excited to see what happens moving forward with Aja Kong. And nice to see her participating in this tournament, and great to see her, I believe, taking on Yuryumitsunami in the second round. So we'll cover those when those matchups happen. But yeah, definitely well worth checking out the first round of the Japanese brackets of the Women's Eliminator Tournament from AEW. shift gears here, and I will do an AEW Dark review, though, since this is Eric After Dark. It was Dark episode 75. They've stopped numbering them and dating them on the YouTube page. I don't know what the idea is there, but I'm going to keep numbering them because it helps me keep on track. So this was a big star-studded, you know, not so much jam-packed with like the 16 layered matches. There was only 12, and they flew by. This was this kind of formula I would definitely like to get used to here on Dark. So a highly recommended episode overall, but I will cover things at a bit of a blow-by-blow here, or at least let you know who picked up the victories. We kicked off with Jon Moxley, someone we absolutely never get to see on Dark, or certainly has been quite a while, picking up a quick victory over John Cruz, who was doing double duty this evening. Again, I spoiled that for some people on here before, but John Cruz, if you don't know, is also Serpentico, so nice for him to get a double paycheck, considering he wasn't doing a lot of time on the cards tonight. He, a quick kind of squash from Moxley in this one, but great to see Moxley in a different type of, if you're not going to have this type of squash match on Dynamite, then why not have it here on Dark and have some more highlights and stuff like that going into his match with Kenta coming up soon. Next, we had the Bear Country taking on Chaos Project, and the Bear Country picking up their first victory here in AEW. And looking fantastic in this matchup. If you were going to get a victory over one of the sort of lower tier teams in AEW, Chaos Project would be a big one to sort of put them over in that sense. And like I was saying, double duties from John Cruz here as he had switched into his Serpentico gear to team with Luther to take on Bear Country, but Bear Country picking up a big victory here, so nice to see that. Continuing with tag matches, we had the Butcher and the Blade picking up a very quick victory over Jake St. Patrick and Sage Scott. Barely wanted to take their gear off. They were just wrecking house on these two guys, hitting them with their finisher, and just certainly not being paid by the minute in this matchup, but a very hard-hitting match. Nice to see the Butcher and the Blade leading into their, I would believe, the main event of Dynamite on Wednesday when they team with Eddie Kingston again. We had Shauna returning here to AEW Dark to take on the debuting Renee Michelle, who I think I've seen on Impact before. I'd have to look her up a little bit to be more familiarized, but a nice sort of debut performance from her. But Shauna picking up the victory. Another tag match with the Dark Order members, John Silver and Alex Reynolds, taking on Eric James and VSK. I had to mark out a little bit for the Eric James name because, hey, that's my first name and middle name. So very cool to see a wrestler using that moniker. I had to mark out a little bit for that. VSK, another person we've been more familiarized here on Dark. And they put on a good performance here. But John Silver and Alex Reynolds, definitely the better tag team here, picking up the victory. Jurassic Express versus Baron Black and John Skyler. This was hard hitting and with a point. This was the first sort of seeing of the Jurassic Express post their attacks from the FTR from a couple of weeks ago, other than the promos from Jungle Boy. So they were much like FTR in one of their Dark matches not too long ago, or even the Dynamite match, a whole different side, much more aggressive, no fun and games, none of that kind of stuff. They were just in here to crush and quickly put away Baron Black and John Skyler. No games to be played. You were just getting to enjoy their entrance music. So great squash from Jurassic Express here. Ty Conte taking on Vervixen and picking up another victory. Really enjoying that submission that she's getting over. It's very unique, and Ty Conte really coming into her own here. Excited for her match in the tournament. I think she may end up, getting a bit of a surprise victory potentially over Nyla Rose. Maybe we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Earlier I mentioned Eddie Kingston, and we got to see him here taking on Aaron Solo. Sold quite a bit actually for Solo in the early goings, but ended up picking up the victory here. Great to see Eddie in another singles match, and always picking up a win is nice to see. As far as quick squashes go, this was definitely one of the fastest ones. The next match, Casey Navarro taking on Ricky Starks. Bell rang, and Ricky instantly dove at this guy with the spear, putting him away within seconds. Great kind of squash from Ricky Starks, especially leading into the match at Revolution against Sting and Darby. Really much putting him over here. We had a debuting Mysterioso taking on Brandon Cutler. Brandon Cutler picking up another victory here, but Mysterioso not bad in his performance. I'd certainly like to see more from him. Another very quick squash. Powerhouse Hobbs putting away Ryzen very, very quickly in a quick squash from him, but a dominant performance. Just reiterate the same stuff about Ricky. Nice to see them getting big victories before leading into that huge match with Sting and Darby. And then our main event, Fuego del Sol taking on Nick Comoroto, someone who is just really coming to his own here on Dark and in AEW in general. Someone you can tell they're certainly high on, and I'm a Fuego del Sol fan, so nice to see him in the main event. Definitely eating the squash here to Nick Comoroto, but if you were going to have Nick get a big victory, he seemed like the perfect person to work with Nick. The finish, being able to throw Fuego around was fantastic. So perfect working partners here for the squash victory for Nick Comoroto in this main event. But that wraps things up for this AEW Dark 75. Definitely recommend. I couldn't necessarily pick out matches from this because there was so many squashes, but almost the whole thing is definitely worth watching. So a highly well-touted episode of AEW Dark, and I'll be back to do more AEW Dark reviews here on Eric After Dark next week when they put out some more episodes, and we'll have some more reviews here on the Low Blow Radio podcast channel. You can check our radio show out if you're in Canada and Ontario on 88.7 theriver.ca, as well as on your radio dials and stuff like that. That's Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Here on Low Blow Radio Podcast, the YouTube page, we put out a blow by blow usually of AEW as well as some other things. So yeah, make sure you stay tuned here to Low Blow Radio Podcast for more reviews.
Now we're ready.